Hello everyone, and welcome to Card Making Fundamentals, and welcome to the Butterflies and Border Classroom. Today we're going to create with our lesson kit. We're going to be creating with lesson kit number 2, so we're going to go ahead and take this out of our package. Now, to create with lesson kit number 2, you're going to need a few supplies. You're going to need you're going to need actually an acrylic block, or you're going to need a die cutting machine. We're going to do a little bit of die cutting, but you don't have to. I don't want you to go out and buy a die cutting machine. You can stamp instead of die cut. So that's where the acrylic block will come in, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we do our die cutting. But we're going to need a tape runner, going to need a craft pick, and then we're also going to need some scissors, and you're going to need a piece of scratch paper. We're going to do a little bit of ink blending, so if you have a piece of scratch paper, or a blending mat, that would work out great too. And then what else? I think that's it. Everything else is in your kit, which makes it really nice. So some basic supplies. We're going to start off by we're going to set everything aside, and then we're going to start off by taking everything out of our lesson kit. And keep your bags, because you can put your card in you can store your card inside this will fit an A2 size card, so you can keep your bag. We're going to start by taking the butterflies out of our little embellishment bag here. Now you want to be really careful, because in this embellishment bag are some pretty small pieces, and delicate ones too. You have a butterfly body, and the antenna on here are super duper skinny. So be really careful with those. Set those aside so you don't lose those. And then we have a small butterfly in there too. What we want to take, we'll put our ribbon up here. But what we want to take are the butterfly bases, the white butterfly bases, which are these two. And then this we can put aside. We're going to take that scratch paper and put your butterflies on your scratch paper, and then I'm going to zoom in. And then we're going to need to grab our blending brush and also our ink pad. And we're going to add a little bit of shading to our butterfly wings. That way it really stands out against the white, kind of a lacy top portion of our butterfly. To do that, it's very easy. I would say make sure that your ink pad is with the pink on the bottom. And then you're going to pick up some of that ink. I'm partial to the pink and the middle orange. I think that goes really well with when you blend it together. It matches our colors. So after you pick up a little bit of that ink with your brush, kind of tap it off a little bit, and then grab your largest butterfly, hold it down, and then add a little bit of color, kind of going in a circular motion on the wings here. And if it looks too pink, you can go back and add a little bit of the orangey area, dab some off, and then go over it up into the butterfly center. So you almost have like a two-tone, you can see here. And then I'm going to intensify that pink on the very edge. And there is no right or wrong way to do the blending, guys. And I think that's good. And I'm not worried about the butterfly middle. Now what we're going to do is flip it around. If you want to use your tape, tear a piece off here, and then add it to your fingers like this. And then hold down your butterfly. You could do this. That way you don't get ink on your fingers. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side of our butterfly. Kind of intensifying it darker on the edge with the pink, and then picking up the orange and then adding that afterwards. So we kind of have a orangey gradient, and then to intensify that pink, just go around the edges once more. Now this is a pigment ink, and so it kind of glides. I love the way this looks, but it is a little bit on the wetter side. So there's one. We'll set this aside to dry a little bit, and then we're going to work on our next butterfly. I'm going to set my tape right here, and then we'll do the same thing. Add a little pink, and I'm going to scoot my paper down so you can see it a little bit better. But add the pink on the edges. You can see there. And then I'll pick up some orange. And then I'm going to kind of go over the entire wing with the orange. So it kind of turns my pink orange. But then I'm going to add a little bit of more orange and go around that edge. Really pretty. So we have, let me zoom in here. So you can have, it looks almost like an ombre, but on your butterfly wing. I'm going to flip it around. I'm going to grab that tape that I used, put both my fingers on there, and then we can hold down that butterfly and do the same thing. We'll add the pink. Like so. And then you can add some orangey right over the top, blending them both together. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit more of that pink, go around the edges. So we have two tones. And I think that's about even. I'm going to add a little more pink on this side. Oops. And then that one is good to go also. Okay, while we have our ink and our blending brush out, I'm going to take my scalloped border, and then we're going to add just a light amount of color on the very edge. Let me scoot this over. On the very edge of the scallop. So we'll pick up a little bit of color. And you don't want a lot. You might want to wipe some off, and then just go around that the bottom scalloped area lightly. Pick up a little more ink, tap it off, and then just add, oops, kind of went a little bit bold with that. That's okay. And a little bit more orange. Okay. Kind of have a little darker smudge, but I think that'll work. But I didn't go all the way up to the top. I wanted this area to have a little bit of white in it. Okay, so we're going to put away our ink pad, and then we're going to let this sit and dry for a minute, and then I'm going to take a baby wipe and we'll wipe off our brush here. And then we'll set this aside. And then we can grab our card base. We are gonna. I said we could either stamp or die cut, but I take that back. We are gonna do a little stamping on our tags. Let's kind of separate everything. So to do that, we are, there might be some pieces that are stuck in your lattice, you can punch those out just using a craft pick. You know, punch those extra pieces out. I had a few and I had already punched those out. But with your white cardstock here, we're going to take our stamp and die set. And this is another card that you can customize, but I thought an everyday hugs card would be nice, kind of like a hugs and kisses card. So I'm going to go use my dies, and I'm going to spell out the word hugs, and I'm going to line it up on the middle of my white cardstock here, and this is where your tape comes in handy too. I'm going to show you. Trim down a strip that's almost, well, about 3/4 inches from your white cardstock. And then what I'm going to do is line up my H on the very bottom of my cardstock. And then I'm going to grab my U. I'm going to line that right next to it. I'm going to actually have them almost touching. Well, they are going to touch. But I'm going to line that up right next to the H. And then we're going to grab our G, flip it around, and do the same. This is going to, the bottom of the G is going to line up on that. It's going to line up on that, let me see where those dots are. Okay. This is going to line up on the bottom of our cardstock here. And then I will take the S and add that on the bottom as well. And I can, these, I can kind of space these pretty much together because they have a little bit of a border on the dies themselves. So if you space them right next to each other, they're still going to be spaced apart. You see that little edge? Now, after you have them all lined up here, let me scoot this one down a little bit more. Okay. Now we're going to take our tape, and then we're going to tape this, add your tape directly over your dies. Not the paper, just the dies. And then you can pick them up like so, and they should be evenly spaced. If you want to flip it around and kind of, like my G is kind of off, you can flip it around now and then straighten them up using your tape as a guide. And I think the only thing that needed to be straightened was the G. And now what we can do is take our tape, line it up in the center of our white cardstock, lightly tack it down, and then run this through your die cutting machine. Now, if you don't have a die cutting machine, all you have to do is use your ink and then spell out the word hugs with your stamps and the same exact side over here. H-U-G-S. Stamp that with your ink. So it's a very quick fix to do if you don't have a die cutting machine. So I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Now you can keep your letters and use them on another project, which is nice. But I'm going to carefully lift up my tape along with my dies here, pull them back, and carefully remove that tape. And then I can remove them. If I don't remove them from the tape when I clean my desk off, I'll probably throw them away. So I'm going to punch out my letters, And then I'm going to put them back on my packaging. This way I don't lose them. Then I'm going to punch out my S, and then we're going to use the negative hugs. And I still got my G a little bit crooked, but it's a homemade card. I think it's going to be just fine. Okay, oh, we need our stamp set. Don't put that away just yet. Now I'm going to take my hugs and I'm going to put them, my hugs, in my little leftover bag. My leftover kit bag here. And then we have this piece right here. This is going to go behind our hugs. You might want to use your scissors and trim a little bit off, because this is exactly 3/4 inch. Trim a little bit off. I would say just a hair. You can see I'm just trimming about that much. This way when you adhere it behind your hugs, you can't see it. And then I can flip over your hug so it's backwards, and then using your glue, and again, to use your glue, push in and turn, and then you can twist off. But use your glue, and I'm going to add just a few dots in between the letters, or a few lines of glue. And a few dots on those smaller areas, and then we can add our polka dot paper face down right over the top. And then you might need to wipe away some of that glue from your pattern paper, help it dry faster, and then that sentiment is done. Okay, we're going to take our tag next, and then we're going to take X and O from our stamp set. I think Kisses and Hugs goes really good with our hug sentiment. So I'm going to stamp X, and I'm going to use the pink and the orange ombre. Just ink it up in the middle. And I'm going to stamp an X in the middle. And then I'll clean off my stamp here. And I'm going to use the baby wipe that I used for my my blending brush. I'll put this back, and then I want to grab my O. And we'll ink this up in the same colors, the pink and the orange, kind of at the halfway mark. And then we'll stamp O right next to it, kind of centering it. I think that works out great. Let's clean this off, and then that's our stamping is die cutting is done, so we can put the stamp set away and put our ink away too. I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then our butterfly should be dry, which makes it really nice. So we're going to take our butterflies next, and then we're going to take our detail piece. And again, you might have to punch out some pieces. For example, the circle in here didn't punch out. Just use your craft pick to punch the circles out. And punch this one out. And then we're going to use our glue and add a little bit of glue in the center of our butterfly body. You don't need too much. After we have our glue done, I like to fluff up the wings again, like almost like fold them. And then we're going to tack down the middle. We're going to line up our butterfly so it lines up on the edges, and then using your finger, just hold it down until it grabs. And then we'll do the same thing to our smaller butterfly. Line it up, and then hold it down so it grabs. I think that looks so pretty. Okay, while that glue's drying, we're going to go ahead and take our, let's zoom back out so you have a little more room here. Okay, I'm going to take this panel with all the butterflies on it. This is going to be towards the top of our card base. We're going to adhere this using using, actually, I take that back. Let's adhere our lattice. So you want the lattice with the solid edge on top here. You see where those aren't punched out. This is going to go on your card base bottom, like so. Okay, so let's flip it around, and we're going to add some glue. And I'm just going to add it all along the edge. A thin bead. And then maybe add a few dots here so it doesn't lift. One more dot there. And then let's adhere this to the very bottom of our card base. Make sure your card base opens and closes on the bottom. And then we can add our lattice right on the bottom, our lattice border. May take a little bit of time to grab, so I'll hold it down. So how's your day going? Did you have a nice 4th of July? Ours was lovely. Very quiet. No family over, just watched the fireworks and barbecued. But after we have this done, make sure that's adhered down. We can now take our butterfly panel. We're going to flip this around. Do we want to flip this around? We don't have to flip it around. We can add our scalloped edge to the top. Let's add it to the top. I think it'll be better. So using our glue, let's add a thin bead at the very bottom of our butterfly panel. I had flipped it around. You want to make sure your inked edge is towards the front. I actually had it flipped around, and so that's why it looks messy, but we're going to cover that with something so you're not going to be able to see the mess up that I have here. But just make sure that it is centered and lined up. The nice thing about glue is you have time to move it around. Okay, I think that's going to work out great. And then I do have a little bit overhanging, so I'll just trim that off. Okay. Now we're going to take our ribbon, and I'm going to use glue, but you can also use, last month we had white liner tape, which is the double-sided adhesive roll. If you want to put that behind your ribbon to secure it down here, you could. I would actually suggest that and make it easier. Or you could even use your tape runner. I was going to use glue, but changed my mind. I'm going to use my tape runner and add a line of tape right over the seam of my butterfly panel and the scalloped border. And then I'll take my ribbon, and we're going to add that to the very bottom, like so. And then I'm going to trim off about 1/2 inch off the edge here. I'm going to, instead of going all around, this is actually going to be extra ribbon. We won't use that. But I'm going to use my tape runner and add some adhesive on the reverse side. Did I run out of tape? Okay, and then we can flip over our ribbon and tack that down on the reverse side. Love those stripes that it adds, but it does add texture, and that's what I'm looking forward to. Okay, we're going to go ahead and flip over this panel and use our tape runner and adhere it to our card base. I think I might be out of tape. I am. Go up to my backup. And we'll add here and here. I'm going to line up the top edges of my butterfly panel to the top of my card base. So to do that, to me it's easier to go on the side view, and then once it's straight and even, I can just tack it down. And then for having ribbon, we don't have too much bulk, which is really nice. Okay, we have our butterflies and our XOXO. This little piece of cardstock, what we're going to do is take our XO tag, it should be dry by now so you can handle it, layer it together, kind of stack it so the green's behind it, like so, just kind of. And then just use your scissors and fussy cut around the top, kind of recreating that tag with the green cardstock, just without the hole there. And then I'm going to lightly tack it together. Just like an accent piece is always nice. Okay, we're going to take our hugs. And in our kit this month, we have some pretty flowers. I already took mine out of the package, but I think that this pretty corally orangey color is going to go perfect with our card. I didn't realize that, but these are removable. Let me show you. I guess, well, no, they're stuck on there pretty good, huh? But these are nice for bills. Makes your bills pretty. So you have extra for your paperwork. But I'm going to take my flower paper clip, and then using the smaller side in front, I'm going to add this to the very end of my hugs here. So about a half of an inch is showing here on the end. Maybe a little more than half. There we go, about half an inch. And it'll be coming off the bottom too. And then we're going to flip this around, and this is going to add bulk on your card. So you definitely will probably have to box this because of the flower, because it's pretty dimensional. You can see it does have quite a bit of depth. But after we have our flower adhered, we'll flip 30-minute mark. Okay, we're going to add our circles. In case you guys are new, my camera only goes in 30-minute increments, and then it stops. So I had to stop the camera and restart it. So that's how I know it was 30 minutes. But I'm going to add 3 circles in front of the flower, and then I'm going to take 1 circle, cut it in half, and I'm going to put this on the other side of the flower. And then I'll just take that other half and put it behind our hugs sentiment strip. And then we're going to remove the release paper. Good deal. And then if you want to pick it up by your flower, you can. It's sturdy enough. We're going to line this up so about 1/4 of an inch of our ribbon is showing. And line this up on over our border here. And it should, oh, did I remove the release paper? No, I didn't remove the release paper off that end. There we go. Okay, we have our little tags. We're going to add those in just a minute. I think you know what I'm going to do is I want my tags to be hanging this way on my card, but I don't want to say OX, I want to say XO. So taking that extra tag, I'm going to do that. So let's restamp XO. Let's grab our stamp set. And we'll ink this up. Let's see. So I want my tag to face, the hole is facing the right. And then we're going to stamp X first. And then I'll clean this off, and then we'll stamp O. Kind of really doesn't matter, but I think it's aesthetically more pleasing when it's this way. We'll stamp our O. Good deal. put this back. Okay, then I'll lift up my first tag, which you can save because it's a perfectly nice little tag. And then I have adhesive already on my green, so I'm going to go ahead and layer this way. I think that's going to look a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and take my tags that we adjusted. We're going to do a tuck underneath our paper clip, and I want a little bit of the bottom paper clip showing too. So we add those. If you want to put a little glue underneath there to help secure it, you could, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Now we're going to go ahead and take our large butterfly. I'm going to fluff up these wings a little bit. And then I have 4 small foam squares. We're going to add 1 behind our larger butterfly. Fluff up these wings, and then this one I kind of want tilting over that open area on the card, like so. And then we'll take our smaller butterfly, add another one of our foam squares, put that right in the center. We'll fluff up these wings, and then we're going to place this. Let's scoot this over a little bit. Better. And then this one I want to go this way, like there. I think that looks really pretty. Okay, we have our butterfly pieces here. I don't want to add any foam adhesive behind any these 3 silhouettes of butterflies. I'm just going to use a little dot of glue. So I'll add a dot of glue behind all of these. And then I'm also going to add some glue to the center of my butterfly. And then we can pick up our butterfly body and take the butterfly body that has the antenna that are very delicate. And then this is going to go on the large butterfly. I like to line up the circle on the head with the butterfly body. That way it covers everything. And then the smaller butterfly doesn't have any antenna, but just using the circle on the butterfly body as a guide, line it up on the head of the smaller butterfly. That's a good guide on where to place it. So that's good to go. I already added glue behind our butterfly. We're going to take our teal striped. We'll add this in the open area here. And I'm tilting them the opposite way as of my my larger butterfly here. So they're not kind of in between the ones in the background too. And then we'll take our pink polka dot butterfly, fluff up these wings, and I'll put this one in this open area. Kind of let it hold down a little bit. And our last butterfly we're going to put just above our flower, just for a little added dimension. Tack that down. And then that will finish off our project for today. I do have a few items left over, so I'm going to put these back in my little Ziploc embellishment bag. And then I have a couple foam squares left over too. And then I'll put these in my little leftover storage kit here. And I was going to add sequins, but I think there's just too much going on, and I think this is a perfect amount of going on our card. But that will finish off lesson number 2. Kind of a long lesson. Thanks so much for bearing with me. A happy 8th of July. Thanks. Happy Friday. Hope you have a fabulous and crafty weekend. And we'll see you next Friday. On Friday, let me check my calendar. Friday, July 15th is our next class. So I will see you. Am I right? Yeah. But I hope you enjoyed the project today. I think you guys are awesome and you are wonderful students. I thank you for joining me. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.